Assalamu alaikum. Today I want to complete our lectures about cell injury, and today we want to speak about the cell damage, which also may be called cell injury. You remember that when the cell exposed to any stimulus like physical, chemical, or infectious, this is maybe distribute the normal cell homeostasis, that the internal environment of the cell will be suffered, and it cannot make it normal metabolic process, and maybe it lose its function due to these changes. As we know that the cell can be adapt and retain to its normal function, and so according to this, we can divide the cell damage into two types. The first one is the reversible cell injury. That means the cell can adapt and return to its normal function. And we have many examples for the reversible cell damage, like cloudy swelling, or sometimes I call it cellular swelling, and I hope you remember that is related to depletion of ATP, and that means lose of energy, which also lead to stop of the bump of ions, and then the water will enter the cells, and the cell will be swelled and maybe explode and lose its function. Other reversible injury like bleeding, when we stop bleeding, the cell can retain to its normal function, as well as blunting, or what we call it mitochondrial change, or microvilli distortion, also the rotation of endoplasmic reticulum. All these changes are example for reversible cell damage, that the cell when adapt or the cytoser will be removed, the cell will be retained to its normal function. Other example for the reversible cell damage is fatty change. So the first one is swelling of the cell. This is a very important example for reversible cell injury. So the first is cloudy swelling or cell swelling. The other is fatty change. And this, from its name, fatty change, that there will be accumulation of fat in the tissue. And this is mainly related to trauma. And we found this type of irreversible injury in women more than in men, especially in the breast. Also, we can found these changes when we have some liver disease. We found that the fat will accumulate in the liver, as here we see in the cross section of liver. This is the hepatocyte, the cell of the liver, and you see here that we have fatty drop. This accumulate in the liver, and the liver will lose its radiation, and then it lose the function. So this is the two example for reversible injury. The first one is the cloudy swelling, and the second one is fatty change. Some cell damage will be irreversible, that the cell will be dead. It cannot return back to its normal function. And also here we have two types of irreversible injury. The first one is necrosis, and the second one is apoptosis. So when we speak about necrosis, as I say, it leads to cell death, and we found in the cross section of the cell which go under necrosis many morphological change. So first, we found that the nucleus or the chromatin material will be condensed in the nucleus, and then it go under fragmentation or degradation, and finally it will lose its function. These three stage of necrosis: the pycnosis, this means the condensing of genetic material in the nucleus, and then the fragmentation of the chromosomes genetic material, we call it karyosis, and finally the karyolysis, that means the cell will be dead and will be go under lysis. Now, the other type of, so we have also many type of necrosis. All these type occur in the same stage as we explained previously, and we have main 6 type of necrosis. The first one is liquefactive necrosis. That means the tissue will be go under liquefaction, become soft and liquid. We call it liquefactive or liquefaction necrosis. The second one is fat necrosis, and this is all as we explain it in the fatty change, when the stimulator or the stressor will stay for a long time, so the fat will be accumulate in the liver in more quantity, and the tissue will, or the cell tissue cells will be dead. The third one is formation of chalky white material, look like cheese. So we call it caseous necrosis. You see, this is white area. This is necrosis type caseous necrosis. You see, this is the white chalky material formed in the affected tissue. Also, we have fibrinoid necrosis, deposition of fibrin, and also we have coagulative necrosis, and also finally we have gangrenous necrosis. This is due to inadequate supplementation of blood to the area, especially to the finger of the hand and to the foot. The other type of irreversible injury, we call it apoptosis. This is programmed cell death, and we speak about it when we speak about the mechanism of cell injury, and also we define it as a programmed cell death. And also it go under a different stage. It go under condensing of the materials, chromat materials, and fragmentation of the chromosome, and finally degradation or fragmentation of all the cell and forming apoptotic body. We must know that apoptosis may be normal cell death. When the cell reach its normal life period, it will be died, and also it will be go under apoptosis. So the main cause of apoptosis physiological, while necrosis, most causes are either infectious or pathogenic. Also, we have something about retain the cell to its normal function. We call it repair of the cell. That's the cell repaired itself. So I mean that it try to repair itself or to continue its normal function. And this cell either go under regeneration That means regeneration of parenchymal cells, generation of new cells, replace the dead cell. And also this is very important to organ to complete its life and life process. And also, sometimes we found in regeneration or the cell will retain completely to its normal function. And replacement, this is, we know that we have stromal cells. The stromal cell support the parenchymal cell. When when the tissue damage, some of it will lose its function. So we have other cells we call stromal cells. This replace the dead cell to support the tissue to continue its normal life process, like fibroblast or immunocell and inflammatory cell. All these cells we call it stromal cell that is support the tissue to continue its normal function when the cells of the tissue died and lose its function. So the cell can repair itself either by regeneration or by replacement. And thank you very much.